Oh gosh. Why is it not working? All right, can you guys see me? Okay. Let me know if you guys can see me. It has been one heck of a night. Right when I was about to go live at 6 o'clock, the cable guy came and turned off the Wi-Fi to fix everything. So it's 8 o'clock now. I'm ready to get started. Yay. Okay. Looks like you guys all can see me now. I don't know how long you could see me for, but it's all working now, and I'm super excited. I got a new little system over here too to help kind of switch things quicker, and hopefully we don't pause out during tonight's live stream because our Wi-Fi is fixed and I can go back to live streaming, which is really awesome. So hey everyone, I am super excited for tonight's stream. So let me go down to my desk so you guys can see it. This is the card that we're going to be creating using some of my new products, using the cake maker, Stencil, and it's going to be tons of fun. And this looks just like a normal card, right? But when you push up on this, a little puppy peeks out, which is so cute. And so I absolutely love this card, and I'm so excited to create it tonight with you guys. Now, one thing I wanted to mention is that this is a part of the Simon Hurley Create Bingo Challenge. So if you guys haven't seen the bingo, I'm going to leave a comment right now. Hopefully. I don't know if it's going to work, but there we go. Okay, I accidentally left it twice. It's just delayed a little bit. There is a link in the chat to the bingo challenge. And this is a free challenge that you can participate in. We just want to see you creating with the Simon Hurley Create products. And we're so excited to just encourage some creativity. So it's the You Were Created to Create challenge. Basically, you go to my website, there's a couple different downloads. You download the themes, fill out your whole card, and each month we have 2 different themes. So for the month of May and into June, it was Think Pink, and it was also Animals and Critters. And so that's tonight's live stream. I'm going to be creating a card for that while showing you a really fun slider card technique. So be sure to download this, check out the bingo board, and join us in the challenge, and use the hashtag #SHCreatedToCreate on social media to participate. And there's a new 2 themes each month, the second Friday of each month. So I'm super excited. So let's get to creating my card. I'm so excited to create this with you guys. It's been a long night, but I'm glad things are kind of working now on the live stream. So I'm going to start off with a piece of stark white cardstock, and this is card base size. It actually has a little bit of a border. I think it is 3 3/4 by 5. And so what I'm going to start out by doing is create the interactive portion. Now there are some dies to do this, but I don't have those dies. And so to do it, I am going to be using a ruler and doing a little bit of cutting. So let me show you how you're going to do this. I'm going to kind of start around here on my card. It all depends on what you're making. There's also, I have a trampoline stamp set, and if I wanted to make them jump up and down, you could do the same thing with this. So take the technique and you could use it in any cards you want. And I would love to see if you guys create something like this on social media. I would love to see it. Awesome, I'm so excited. Melissa said she just ordered a heap of my new stuff and she's so excited to create with it. Well, I'm excited and I'm so glad you are here for some inspiration. So what I'm going to do is take this, find the center of my cardstock, and I do about 1/4 of an inch that I cut. So I just leave a little mark on those 2, and then I'll move it up. Line those same marks up, and I'll do about 1/4 of an inch up there too. And so I'm going to connect these lines to create my cutout. All right, and if you're doing a couple different cards at once, you could just kind of trace and copy that cutout. Now the cool thing about this product is this is the My Sweet Petunia cut in a line ruler. And you could totally use a paper trimmer if you have the wire guided ones as well. But this one's cool because it has a little kind of slit in the center of the ruler and it's very thick there. So you could go in easily with a craft knife and do your cutting. So I just do a couple different strokes. And if I was really focused, I could totally do this right now and kind of look over top of it because that's the most helpful piece. But all I'm going to do is just follow these 4 to create a rectangle and cut it out. And I already have done that because I really don't want to cut my hand on camera. So I've already done that. And I've got my piece here. So this is how it's going to look once you're all done. And like I said, there are totally dyes with this. There's some good ones from Lawn Fawn and things like that. But if you want to just cut a rectangle like this, you could totally do it, but the dyes make it a little bit easier if you have those. Somebody said they need to start a GoFundMe account for my crafting habit. That's hilarious. I think we all feel that way, right? So once I'm done with this, I'm going to start ink blending my cake, which is going to be that kind of moving mechanism, right? So this is what's going to kind of create this mechanism in here. And this is using one of my new products called the Cake Maker Stencil. And I absolutely love this stencil. In fact, I'll leave a comment here as well. This is a link where you can go shopping for all of my supplies. So if you see any of the Simon Hurley Create products that you love in tonight's stream, be sure to check them out on Ranger's site there. And you could use code Simon20 for 20% off your first purchase. All right, so this is about a $5 stencil, which I think is a really great price point for the layering stencils. And I'm going to create a cake with this. Exactly. That's why I didn't do it. That's why I didn't do it on the stream. I didn't want to cut myself, and I didn't want it to take hours of your time either. But I'm going to go in here and start my blending. Now, there is a ton of variety of cakes you can create with this stencil, whether it's single layer, double layer, and different patterns. But tonight I'm going to just kind of show you how to blend one pretty simply and easily. So I'm going to use a little bit of Over the Moon, and I love this color for cakes and moons and just to kind of brighten things up a little bit. It's this kind of more pastel, almost buttery yellow color, and I love it for these cakes, for a nice vanilla cake. And the cool part about this is if I wanted to, I could totally go in, and let's say I wanted to darken the edges up a little bit, I'll go in using a little bit of Guppy, which is just a slightly darker color, and I'll just tap the edges, right, because it's pretty bright, but I'll just go in on the edges and create a little bit of shading. And that's what I love about these stencils for layering. They're at a great price point, right? It's not like a layering stamp set where it's quite expensive. And also you can layer different colors on the same layer, which I think is really cool. Exactly, we can't have an ER visit right now. So then I'm going to create a pattern on it. And I'm going to use these 2 swirls, but you could use the dots or whatever you'd like. Now the thing with this is you just want to make sure it lines up, and the guide on the back of the packaging will kind of help you with that. You just want to make sure that it's covering any parts where you don't want. So once it kind of lines this bottom piece up with that cake, you should be good to go. And since the theme for this month for the bingo challenge is Think Pink, if you want to download the bingo board, the link is in the chat. Since it is Think Pink with reds, pinks, and purples, I wanted to do some frosting in the color Prom Queen. You guys have been loving this color as well, which I just love. Brutus Monroe recently ordered our inks and got them in stock, which is super exciting. And one of the first colors sold was Prom Queen, which is super awesome. I love that you guys love this color as much as I do. All right, so I am going to lift that off, and I know it went blank there for a second. I don't know why it does that every once in a while, but stick with me here. And then I'm going to take the cake stand, and again, once it lines up with the bottom of that cake, it's good to go. And you'll get the hang of this. If you have this stencil and you've used it a few times, you'll totally get the hang of it really fast. It just seems like it's taking a long time because I have to kind of explain it all here. And one thing I wanted to mention too is some of these images are close together, and if you're not super careful and you know that about yourself, you might want to tape off some of the images. We just do that so that you get tons of images on one stencil, because we like to give you as much bang for your buck as possible, but you can totally mask things off with a little bit of purple tape quickly to make sure you don't get anything inked that you don't want it. And then for candles, let me add a few candles here. Now I'm going to use let me show you guys. So I'm going to actually use these little detail blending tools. And you can find these on Ranger's site as well. And I really love these for doing little tiny details. It's especially helpful when you're doing maker stencils and things like that, where there is really small details to get into, this is going to definitely help you out. And I'll go in here with the little flame too, with a little bit of guppy. Awesome. Yes, right? I'm not a huge fan of pink either, but that was kind of during my mom's Mother's Day release, and I let her pick out that prom queen color. And I was like, you know, I don't know if we really need another pink, but we definitely did. It's such a bright and gorgeous color, which I just love. So I'm super excited that we did that. It's one of my favorites probably from the line, as well as Minty Fresh. So here is that cake all done. Now I'm going to add these little tiny stripes in too. So again, we do lots of these little details, so you could use this. And I'm just going to go in here with a little bit of prom queen that was already left on the blending tool and just add some little details of stripes in there. So that's how you create a cake with the Cake Maker stencil. And again, there's so many different opportunities for wedding cakes and different designs like that, depending on what colors and patterns you use. Yay, I hope all is well with you as well. Yes, with all of you guys. I know it's kind of a weird time right now in the world, but I decided to go live tonight just to kind of bring a little bit of a lighter spirit amongst all the heavy things that are going on right now in the world. And I'm really thinking and praying of everybody, or praying for everybody, that the world kind of, you know, has a little bit of love and kind of comes together during this time, which is exciting. So let me cut all this out. Okay, and I'm going to go in and do a little bit of more detailed cutting. Now, when I do this, you all know, if you've seen my lives before, I always talk about how much I love these scissors. These are my fussy cutting scissors. I use them for a lot. These are Fiskars scissors, and they have a spring assist to them. So you're not putting your fingers in anything, so that it's not gonna get super tired. But also, the springs kind of push against your fingers, so it just kind of helps you a little bit more and doesn't make your hand tired as you're cutting this out. And I leave a little bit of a white border around it too. This isn't a super detailed image to color out, so it should be pretty quick. Awesome. Okay. So let me just go around here, and I just go in and pretty quickly do this. And these are my favorite scissors, fussy cutting. If anybody that you know complains or talks about fussy cutting, recommend them these scissors. And after the stream, I'll actually link these up for you guys to check out, because I know a lot of people ask where they're from. I think I bought them at just like a like Home Depot or Menards or something. In the checkout, I was like, these look like some good scissors. And turns out they definitely were. So I'll link to them after. I think you can probably find them on Amazon, or Simon Says Stamp I think has them too. Okay, so I'll just go in here and cut these little candles out too. So how have you guys all been? I always like to ask that, what you guys are doing and things like that. I used to ask, what are you guys doing during quarantine? But I don't know if anybody has been lifted over here in Wisconsin. The quarantine isn't fully lifted, I don't think, but a lot of businesses are opening up and being careful and safe, which I really respect and think is awesome. Oh, you have a pair of these and never think to use them. Oh my gosh, you have to get them out for your fussy cutting. It just makes it so much easier as you're cutting out the images so that your hand doesn't get tired. Okay, we're in the long stretch here, or home stretch. Almost all done. And then we'll move on to creating the interactive portion. I haven't told you guys, but it actually, we got home the other day, and you know, me and my brother were like, oh, we wonder why it's so hot in here. And we kind of turned the temperature down a little bit and went to sleep, and it was absolutely roasting. And then we discovered that our air conditioning wasn't working. So just when the Wisconsin weather gets warm enough to go outside, inside it's kind of miserable, especially with all of these lights in this studio. So it's definitely a little bit warm in here. So I'm almost done. There we go. Okay. Now that I'm done with my fussy cutting, this is going to be what I use to create my interactive piece. And of course, you could just totally leave it like this. Oh, and since we're done with cutting, I'll remove that mat so that we have our nice wood background. I feel like things are less contrasted against this and look a little bit nicer. So then, to make the interactive piece, all I'm going to do is go into here, go up right against that pink, and separate this cake into 2 different layers. All right, so I'm just going in here, cutting this out, and this is that section where the dog is going to peek out from. So just doing this, and again, like I said, you could totally just leave it how it was if you're just making a regular card, but since I want this to be kind of an interactive slider card, I'll cut this apart. Yeah, you're loving the prom queen, Georgia. That's so awesome. Yay. Okay. So, oh, someone said their state is not fully lifted yet. You haven't heard if the curve has flattened yet. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so now that this is the part, we can create our slider with it. And to do this, I used an image from my Trampoline Friends stamp set. And again, you can find that in the links. So on the Shop Simon Hurley Create tab, you will get 20% off your first purchase if you use code Simon20 at Ranger, and you can kind of scroll through and find it there. I do also want to mention that I just wanted to mention this in case if you guys haven't shopped my line yet or anything like that. These 2 stencils, the Looks Like Rain stencil and Backsplash stencil, had about 50 left the other day. So we've sold through a lot of these stencils. There's about 50 left on the site, and this is going to be the last restock of those stencils. So we're not restocking them anymore. So if you want Looks Like Rain or Backsplash, these are 2 of my faves, be sure to get them now while you still can, because they're going out of stock to prepare for some new stuff that we keep releasing, because you guys have been supporting the line. We've been doing lots of releases this year. I am so appreciative of you guys and really thankful for everything you do. So to do some of the coloring, we know that I love to go in and do watercoloring with my inks, but for tonight, I'm just going to do a little bit of Copic marker coloring. And oops, I stamped this in the wrong ink. Give me a second. I use Archival because it's the best ink for watercoloring, I find, but I need to grab a different ink for alcohol marker coloring so that it doesn't bleed. So I'll use that other little guy for a different card. And let me just heat set this to make sure that it's not going to bleed at all. Yay, thanks, Cheryl. I wouldn't call myself an engineer, but I had some fun creating this card today. I usually don't create a ton of interactive cards, but I was like, you know what? Today's the day. Today's the day that we pull out our supplies and create something kind of fun and different that I haven't usually done. So, yeah, I know. It seems like I'm an engineer genius. I really am not. It took me a while to do this and figure it out, but it's definitely a lot of fun once it's finished. It's definitely not a card you would mass produce, so you're definitely going to want to give it to a special loved one when you are done with it. Awesome. So I'm going to kind of blend it out with a lighter color. These are just alcohol markers from Tonic or Nuvo. I know lots of people love Copics, and I do have Copics too, but honestly, I find these markers from Tonic to be really great. They don't have a brush nib. They have just a bullet nib and a chisel nib, but I honestly love these. I haven't used them in quite some time, so I wanted to pull them out tonight and do something a little bit different, because I know you guys usually see me coloring with my inks, which do a phenomenal job. If you guys have them and know, leave comments for people who may be on the fence about my inks or kind of thinking about it. Let them know what you think about them, because sometimes it's hard to convince somebody because it seems like I have a bias, but really, I've tried tons of inks, and mine are my favorite that we've created, which is really awesome because they can do a lot with stamping, blending, and watercoloring. Okay, and let's just color his collar in red to go along with the Think Pink theme of this month. And if you want to, again, I'm going to do it one more time. If you want to download that bingo board, the link is here. Huh. Yeah, I noticed that too. Lady Buckingham commented, yes, To see the comments, I have to keep going in and out and reloading. Try on your computer. I found the same thing is happening with my phone, and I'm thinking it's probably just a YouTube bug. So maybe if you're having troubles with that, try going on to the stream on your computer, and that seems to work for me usually. And again, a little bit more fussy cutting. This one should be a little bit easier because he's kind of a smaller image. And with this, the dog only pops up about yay far, so I'll just end up chopping it off there. And we'll cut out his little tail. And I just think this card is so much fun. I was like, how am I going to incorporate critters with Think Pink? And I just thought of this cake immediately, and I was like, this little guy's gotta be peeking out of the cake. And of course, if you don't want to do something so interactive, you could just have this little guy, or maybe a stamp from the Puppy Pun stamp set, just peeking over the top of the cake. And it doesn't have to be a slider, and I love it. Yep, all the techniques, one set of stamps, so worth it for sure. We like to just kind of give as many possibilities with our stamps as possible. So, the thing that I did with this is I forgot to do this before the stream, but I actually, okay, weirdly enough, you guys are gonna probably start laughing. This is what I did. Let me show you what I did, because I know a lot of people, when they created these cards, they used to be really popular in the past, used like a penny to be like the weighted slider, which makes you have to actually raise up the card, which I didn't want to do. So literally, I took the baseball from my new home run stamp set, and I just traced around this little guy to make a circle slider. But literally any circle in your craft room that's about yay big will work. But if you got the home run stamp set, this is a good use for the baseball. So I'm going to just go in here and cut this out as well. You could also use, wow, I'm really not the brightest. You could also use little dies for this, but this was just what I had on hand, but maybe a little circle die would be best. I don't have too many layering die sets either. I don't use a ton of die cutting for my card making, so that's why I probably didn't even think about it. But yeah, just gonna cut around this circle. It doesn't need to be perfect because nobody will see this part. Yay, Melissa says she loves the Simon Hurley ink. She was just gonna buy a few. Next minute she had the whole set. That's so awesome. Thank you for sharing that, definitely. You know, it's funny because when I first released them, I was like, you know, how am I gonna sell people on these? I think they're gonna think I'm a little biased. But after you guys have been using them and sharing your thoughts on them, I really love that. Okay, so I'm going to grab a little foam square and just add it down here. And so I put that circle behind this, and that little foam square happens to fit perfectly inside this, but you can cut a little piece of foam tape to fit too. Then what I'll do next is I'm going to take a little strip of acetate. This is just some stamp packaging. It actually comes on all of my background stamps, and I tend to take off some of the excess from the edges and just use that for this. So I'm just going to line it up right at the top, have it go straight down, because that's what's going to be holding on to the dog, so you're not even going to be able to see the clear acetate, but that's what's going to be holding on to the dog. And then, oops, okay, then I'm going to grab another foam square, sorry, and add it right on top of the first one. Peel that off. And then I'll add on top the cake, right in center. So if you didn't catch that, it's all in here now. On the back, we have that circle, and this circle can now slide up and down. And what's making it do that is the two foam squares that are on that track. And I did two because I wanted it sandwiched in between with a piece of acetate here, so that I can put my dog on something. All right, so I'm going to also just leave a link in here. If you guys are enjoying this video, be sure to click that subscribe button so you never miss another video like this one from me. Awesome, so let's go in here, and I just like to test things out on kind of where I want to put this cake, because I'm going to have the dog kind of peeking out that far. So the cake should be about right here. I'm just gonna make a little mark where the top of that cake should kind of sit. Let's just make two little marks there. So that's where our cake is gonna be. But before I do that too far, I want to take this dog, and let me actually just cut off a little bit more, because that part's not going to be really seen at the bottom there. And I am going to adhere this down. Now to do this, I'm going to take a piece of scrap cardstock. Guys, I probably do way more steps than you have to. Y'all engineering geniuses out there can probably figure this out a lot quicker than I am. But if you struggle with something like this, just follow all the steps that I'm doing. So I don't like liquid adhesive, especially not in the middle of a project like this. So to keep it nice and clean, I just went in with a little bit of tape runner to adhere this dog down. I'm just gonna make his little head kind of going underneath that. And then I'm going to trim off the rest of this acetate right beneath him, right there. Awesome. So that's going to make the little puppy moving up and down as well. I don't know if you guys are still following, but then we're going to take our cake here and we're going to add little pieces of foam. Yay, thanks so much. Someone said, Mary said she loves this and it doesn't seem too difficult. Well, that is good. Sometimes I don't know if I'm explaining things super well, but also I came up with this method on my own. I'm not following anybody's tutorial or anything. So that's why it might seem a little bit scatterbrained because I just kind of, you know, whatever I had around, I kind of used to create this card. Oh no, it's blacking out, in and out. I think sometimes this thing gets a little bit overheated, so bear with it. Okay. So then I'll just peel off the backings. Now I am using little foam squares so that the center of this is going to act as a place to kind of harness that little pup in there. So that is just going to harness the little dog in there and make sure that it stays in. And then these bottom two foam squares are going to keep it from going too far down, right? So I'm just making a little track for that dog to go in and out. And in fact, the dog has a lot more space than it needs to move around, just so that it can kind of be free if that top cake moves a little bit. Only 27 minutes in and we're almost done. Okay, so let me just make sure that that's going to, perfect, not have any issues when it goes down. So you just want to look at your cake and make sure that, like, hey, it's not going to hit anything at the bottom. And I'm just going to cut off just a tiny bit more just to make sure that it's going to go all the way in without there being an issue. Okay, so let's add the cake down here and hope, cross our fingers, hope everything goes right. Right, okay, I'm going to add this guy down. And here we go. Look at that. So then when you pull this guy up, you have a little doggo sitting underneath, which I think is so absolutely adorable. And it just goes down and looks like a normal cake then. And to hide this kind of section in the back, we're going to just put it onto a card base. So before I put it on anything, I'm going to take my card base. Now this is a piece of stark white cardstock that I've cut and I've scored down to create an A2 size 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card. And to do the little border on the side, I'm going to be using the Prom Queen ink, which matches that frosting that I did earlier. And I'm just going to do a little bit of blending on the side. And I'm doing this pretty quick, but this is a great way to create your own colored cardstock borders. Is just go in with a little bit of ink and do some blending. And my inks just blend so smooth, which makes it really easy to create some colored cardstock. And if I wanted to, I could really make sure there was no harsh marks. But I'm going at this speedy because you're only going to see the edges. But if I took a little bit more time to actually care, it wouldn't be so rough on the inside. But work smarter, not harder. Gosh, I'm sweating because the AC isn't on. I think we're getting it sometime next week, so. Okay. So that dog guy is from the Trampoline Friends stamp set, but now I'm going to go in with this stencil. This is the bubble wrap stencil from the Mother's Day release. Now, there's products in that Mother's Day release that you may want to check out, like the Prom Queen ink pad and different stencils that really aren't super Mother's Day themed, or you could really use them for anything else. That's what we love to do with our releases is, although they might be themed sometimes, we really want to make sure that the stamp set still works for all year round. So even that Supermom stamp set that I came up with still works for just some encouragement cards, even for kids and women, which I love. Okay, so let me lift this off, guys. The reveal is amazing. So this is just the same color. The second time, I just went darker. And since these are translucent dye-based inks, when they layer up like that, you're going to get a darker color on top. So the more you layer, the darker the color is going to get. And I also like to say, use the Simon Hurley Create Stark White cardstock when you're layering. Because I like to show this usually, but I'm not going to take too much of your time. Here's my cardstock compared to a different cardstock. This is the same color, and I tried building it up with different layers on both of these cardstocks. And this one has a little bit of a coating on top of it that's not really noticeable, but it doesn't let the ink sink in, whereas my Stark White cardstock lets you make as dark of a color as you want. Yes, Liz, totally. Liz just asked, could you have made a pull tab with the acetate? Which I think is a great idea. So you could totally do that if you want to, for it to be easier to move the cake up and down, definitely. Okay, so let me quickly go in here. Did I do this at the beginning? Or did I do it now? You know, I think I did it at this point. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm using my MISTI stamping tool for this, because I want to stamp my sentiment. Let me move it around a little bit. I think I had a bigger piece of cardstock when I did this earlier. So let me just find the placement here. And I used one of my new stamp sets for this. This one is the Cakewalk stamp set. And I used the Happy Birthday stamp and Let's Get Lit. And I love this stamp set. It's so fun and playful. And it's from my Simon Hurley Create line. And I'm just going to use some jet black archival ink to ink this up. And we'll stamp it down. And at this point, I like to use my MISTI just in case if it doesn't stamp well, it'll stamp in the exact same spot the next time you stamp it. Oh, we were talking about, before the live started earlier, we were talking about weather in everybody's area. And over where Chase is, it's 108 degrees. Well, that would not be fun if your air conditioning broke. Over here, I think it's about 80, or it was 80 yesterday for sure. I'm not sure exactly what it is today. So what I like about the slider that I created tonight is I know a lot of people used to use pennies to create sliders, but since that creates extra dimension on the back, you have to add foam tape, which I'm not a huge fan of. So I like to just use that piece of cardstock and not putting any adhesive around it. And then when I adhere it down onto my card, it presses up against this, so it's not going to let it slide if you don't want it to. So I think the cool part about this is with the penny slider cards, if you go like this, they just slide all over the place. With this one, you could stamp a little like sentiment on here. I know some companies have some sets that say like pull up or different things like that, and you could stamp that on there so that people know to do that. But I love it with this one that you have more control over where it goes and that it's a flat card. So this one would be fairly easy to mail as well. Okay, you just had an earthquake. Oh my gosh. Well, I hope you're okay. I hope you're safe. Oh gosh. Okay. So look at this fun card that we created. I love that there's a matched border using ink, and I just love this fun slider. Since the theme of this month's bingo challenge, if you want to join in the bingo, I'll leave another link in the chat. The theme of this bingo challenge is using critters and pink and red inks and think pink. So I love these themes with the bingo that we are doing because it really encourages you to use your products and think a little bit outside of the box. You know, I didn't really know what would go together with animals and pink. And I just thought of this cake and thought that it would be so much fun to create this interactive slider card and spend a little bit of time to create a super fun project. So now I can cross off the animals section and I can cross off. Wait a second, there we go. On my bingo board here, and then we can continue on and post your projects using SH Created to Create on social media on Facebook and Instagram. I might even start a Facebook group on Facebook, like a page group, so that you guys can all share your projects in there too. And we're picking giveaway winners and stuff like that from the people who share. And then we'll also pick giveaway winners from the bingo too. So lots of ways to win, even if you just participate and download the board and have fun creating. And we would love to see your projects using some Simon Hurley Create products. And there's been a little bit of confusion. Some people have asked, do you need to use Simon Hurley Create products? And to that I say, just make, oops, it's frozen on my face there. Just make the project with the focal point using Simon Hurley Create products, and that is totally enough. So if the focus of your card is using Simon Hurley Create products, you can totally incorporate other people's products in here as well. Just wait a second, I'm making it so that you guys can see my face again. Oh, gosh, it's still frozen. Okay, well, just make the focal point of the card be using Simon Hurley Create products, because I know we're a fairly new company, a fairly new brand of Ranger, and so, but if you are collecting Simon Hurley, thanks so much for supporting me, and I cannot wait to see your stuff. Awesome. Okay guys, thank you so much for joining me in tonight's live stream. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you all joining me tonight. I know it's kind of a crazy world, and I hope you guys enjoyed the 40 minutes we can spend together to just kind of smile and be a little bit happy. And I'm really thinking about everybody in this world, and I really hope we can kind of come to an equality and really support each other and have everybody included, which I think is really important. Cheryl said, OMG, are you 17? I just turned 18. My birthday was it on Saturday or Sunday? It was the 30th. So yes, I'm 18. Yes, the stencil is called Bubble Wrap. And you can find it over on Ranger's site. I'll actually leave a link. Oops, it's not gonna let me right now since I already left a different link. But you can shop at Ranger's site for all of the supplies from Simon Hurley Create. So thank you guys so much. If I could show my face right now, I would, but it is in fact frozen still. That's creepy, but I'll see you guys so soon. Have a wonderful night. Bye guys.